All right, so we are going to be reviewing for our arithmetic. I'm not going to zoom it in because you won't be able to see this last one, so hopefully you can see pretty well what these are. They're not too bad, hopefully. So this one, 24, good, 10, 20, and then IV, when there's a smaller Roman numeral in front, we subtract. So 24, 56, very good. 55, 6. When there's a smaller Roman numeral after, we add. What about that one? 150. If this is 50, we know that C is 100. 100 plus 50, 150. 1,000, good. Good. 65, 10, or 50, 60, 10, 5. 38, 10, 20, 30, 5, 6, 7, 8. 38. Good. So look at that one carefully. We know that L, we already said, is 50. When there's a smaller Roman numeral in front, we subtract. So we take 50, subtract how much? The X is 10, so we subtract 10 from 50, which makes it 40. Very good. What about XC then? Right, because I take 10 away from, what is C? 100. 100 minus 10 equals 90. Good. 38, 1,000. 90, 56, 1,000, 150, 24, 60, 65, sorry, 40, 65, 90. Good. So as you are reviewing or thinking about these Roman numerals, remember the rules. They don't go by place value, they go by rules. So think of those rules carefully. Smaller Roman numeral after, you add. Smaller Roman numeral in front, you subtract. And you can only repeat 3 times. You won't have L's or V's in the front, okay? Those are gonna, the smaller Roman numerals are gonna be the I's, the X's. That way, that's what you'll see there. So think those through very carefully. All right, and then to our, I want you to make sure that you are remembering with our rounding to the nearest dollar, because you are going to see that on your page. When you're rounding to the nearest dollar, you go 50 and above goes up, 49 and below goes down, okay? So if it was $4.21, then obviously you're going to go down to the $4. If it's $8.59, then you're going to go up to the $9 because 59 is over 50, okay? If it's $6.97, well, obviously, you're going to go up to $7. So we'll go over that carefully. There is an arithmetic test tomorrow. So be prepared for that. When you are working on your arithmetic page today, work very carefully and neatly on that page so that you can be reviewing because you will have an arithmetic test 13 tomorrow that you'll be taking. So be aware of that. All right, and I want to review our division because this is something that I want us to keep working through and making sure that we get down, but also we are writing our, if it tells you to. So read the directions carefully. If it doesn't tell you to, don't do it, but if it tells you to, write the remainder as a fraction. I want to review that with you so that you're doing that. So the first thing that we do is we look at the number in our dividend, the 5. And we ask ourselves how many 3s are in 5, okay? Which is a very simple thing to do. I think I will make it closer just as I do each of these individually. So we ask ourselves how many 3s are in 5. Count by 3 till you say 5, or get as close to it as you can without going over, or make 5 marks and circle every group of 3, or take your hand and think 1, 2, 3. There's one group of 3, 1, 2, wait, I don't have enough for another group of 3, so there's one group of 3 in 5. Put my 1 above my 5. After I divide, I have to multiply. I multiply my outside numbers, my little pickle. That's why I've drawn my pickle before. 3 times 1 equals 3. Very good. I put it under my 5 so that I can subtract. 5 minus 3 is 2. And I draw an arrow to compare. You need to show me that you looked to see if this number here that you subtracted is smaller, because if it's not, then you haven't done it correctly and you need to go back and fix it. That's where some of you get lost. We don't really compare And when we're not comparing, we're not getting the right number. Then we bring down. We bring down the very next number, our 4, next to our 2. And now we have a whole new number, and our number is 24. Now we're going to ask how many 24s, how many 3s are in 24, excuse me. So count by 3s until you say 24, or make 24 marks, circle every group of 3, or know your 3 division table, which you should. 24 divided by 3 equals 8. Very good. Equals 8. So then put the 8 on the top. My answer to my division always goes up top. That's where the quotient is. The quotient is always on top of the house. So once I figure out my division problem and write the answer on the top, now I multiply my top answer times my divisor. Everything gets multiplied by my divisor. 8 times 3 is 24. 24 minus 24 is 0. Good. And is it less than 3? Well, of course it is. But see, why I do that is because what if I said, oh, 27 is as close as I can get. And then I multiply, or 7. 7 times 3 equals 21. Well, if I subtract 24 minus 21, it's going to be 3. And is 3 less than 3? No. And that's when I can say, oh, instead of continuing to go on, I've got to fix this number because my answer is bigger than 3 or larger. It has to be smaller than 3. And once I know that it's smaller than 3, then I can go on. Hopefully that makes sense. Is there anything left to bring down? There certainly is. I have my 2 that I need to bring down now. And now I need to ask myself, how many 3s are in 2? Well, if you look, hopefully you can already tell that there aren't 3s in 2, but it still is represented with a number. What number? 0. And my 0 goes on the top. My answer always goes on top. Now I multiply 0 times 3, 0. And I subtract 2 minus 0, 2. I have to compare a third time, draw a third arrow. Is 2 less than 3? Yes, it is. So now we are bringing down our last number, our 2, next to the 2 that we already have. Now our newest number is 22. How many 3s are in 22? Count by 3s until you say 22 or something close to it without going over it. Or make 22 marks and circle every group of 3, or simply know, oh, let's see, well, 8 was 24, so it has to be 7, because 7 would make it 21. So my answer 7 goes on the top, and then I multiply 7 times 3, 21, subtract, 2 minus 1 is 1. So I compare again for the 4th time. Is 1 less than 3? It sure is. So if 1 is less than 3, I'm done with my problem because there's nothing else to bring down, but I can't leave this down here. I could put R.1 for remainder, but my book told me to write my remainder as a fraction. Well, if it's telling me to do that, then I need to make sure that I do. So what is my remainder becomes my numerator, and what my divisor that I divided by becomes my denominator. And then I need to remember to put my comma in between so that I can show thousands place compared to the other numbers. So my answer, 1,807 1/3. Okay. I'm going to do this one since it's up on the top again. And this one is one of the ones that is harder for some of you anyway, because we're used to putting the 0 here, but we're not putting the 0 anymore because we don't need to. Because we can understand that now if I look at the first digit and it's too small, I just go into both digits. So instead of going into 2, I'm going into 21. Okay. So I ask, how many 5s are in 21? Well, you should know your 5 multiplication table and division table. You know that the closest that you can get to 21 would be 20. Anything with 5 is 5 or 0, 5 or 0, 5 or 0. So if I'm at 21, then 0 is going to be my closest. I don't want to go all the way up to 5 when I have my 0 here. So I know that how many 5s are in 21? It would be 4. And I write my 4 over the 1 because there's not 4 5s in 2. There's 4 5s in 21, okay? Then I multiply my outside numbers. 5 times 4 equals, it equals 20. And that's how I knew I got so close without going over. 21 minus 20, 1. Compare. Is 1 less than 5? Obviously it is. Once we know that that's settled, then we can bring down our next number. We already used the 1 with 21, with 5 times 4 equals 20. We already used that. So now we're bringing down the 4. Now our newest number is 14. Once again, we want to get close to 14, but not over. So we have to choose something that's close to it. And obviously that's going to be 2, because if we did 3, it would be 15, which is too high. So we put a 2 over the 4 and then multiply my outside number times my outside number. The 4 we already did, so that one's done. 5 times 2 now. And that equals 10. Very good. Subtract. 14 minus 10 is 4. Compare. Is 4 less than 5? It sure is. So since 4 is less than 5, I'm good. It barely is, but at least it is. Now I have another number to bring down. There's still another number out there. So I bring down my 8 next to my 5. And once again, I have to ask, how many 5s are in 48? I want to get as close to 48 as I can without going over. Well, if I go to the 0, it's going to either be 40 or 10 or 50, and those are not the right ones. So it's going to have to be my 5, 45. Okay, I don't want to confuse you, but count by 5s till you get to 45, or make 48. Make 48 marks and circle every group of 5. But we should know that that's going to be 9. And then we multiply. 9 times 5 equals 45. Subtract 48 minus 45. It's 3. We still have to compare. And then when we see that there's nothing left to bring down, we know that we're done, but we're not done because we have a remainder. But our remainder is going to become a part of our fraction. It's going to be a fraction. And so we put the 3 as the numerator and what we divided by, which was 5, as our denominator. So my answer is 429 3/5. And notice again, third grade, always write your whole numbers bigger, and your fractions should kind of match the same size as they are, so that you're not writing too small for your whole numbers. Then we have one more at the bottom to do. We're going to look at how many 2s are in 8. 2, 4, 6, 8, right? So we put our 4 right on the top, and we multiply. 2 times 4, which equals 8. 8 minus 8, we subtract. 0. Compare. Is 0 less than 2? Yes, obviously. Then we bring down our 3. And now we ask how many 2s are in 3, which is opposite of what we were doing up here. How many 3s are in 2? How many 2s are in 3? There is one group of 2 in 3. So I write my 1 on the top, multiply. 2 times 1, and it equals 2. Subtract. 3 minus 2, 1. Compare. Is 1 less than 2? It is. So now I bring down my newest number that I haven't used yet, my 9. So now I have another number, 19. Okay? And if I have my 19, now I have to divide that by 2. So 19 divided by 2. And we know that we can get the closest by putting a 9 up here. And 9 times 2 equals what? 18. And I'm going to subtract 19 minus 18. 1. Compare. It is less. Bring down my other 9. We have 19 again. So guess what else we have again? We have 9 again. 9 times 2. 18. 19 minus 18. 1. Compare again. And now we have that 1 at the bottom as a remainder. But we're writing it as a fraction, so my 1 goes on top. My 2, my divisor, goes on the bottom. And then put my comma so that I know my answer is 4,199 1/2. 4,199 1/2, okay? So that's what you're going to be doing and working on when you are looking in your books today and looking at your arithmetic page. Sorry, just really quickly going to get that. Make sure that you are looking those over carefully. They're pretty easy things that you already know. Section 2, look carefully. Noah and his brothers Daniel and Matthew own 147 books. 42 belong to Noah, 38 belong to Daniel. How many books does Matthew own? Well, if you figure out how many Noah and Daniel own and take that from the 147 that they all own, then you will be able to figure out how many Matthew owns. Okay, if you're not sure, have parents just message me. Letter B, how much would 3 yards of lumber cost if each foot cost $3.75? So 3 yards, you can't just go ahead and say $3.75 times 3. No, because that's not feet, okay? 3 yards, you have to transfer it to feet, make it feet. How do we do that? Measurement problem. 3 yards equals blank feet. And once you find out how many feet that is, you take that number, multiply it by the cost, and then that will tell you how much that's going to cost for each foot. Okay, so think that carefully through. Then section 3, write the products. Those are easy. That's where I was telling you. Section 4, write the remainder as a fraction. For letter A, and you don't have to check letter A, but it does say check B. So B is not going to have a remainder that you need to worry about, but you are going to check it. Then write your Roman numerals. So we reviewed those, so think carefully. Round your dollars, reduce to lowest terms, solve measurement equations, solve for X or N, the irregular equation. Then you have your homework. If you say your 11 division table 3 times through, say it and repeat it, say it and repeat it 3 times through, then you don't have to write it, but you have to say it 3 times. If you don't say it 3 times, then you write it 1 time, okay? So 3 times through spoken or 1 time written, your choice. Then answer the questions at the bottom for your temperature. If you forget those, remember they're at the back of your book. You can look them, but you should know those. So Brain Booster today is not on your page. It is actually just on mine. It's verbal. So I'm going to ask you the Brain Booster and see if you can answer. If you answer the correct answer, everybody that does is going to get a bonus point on your math test tomorrow. So it's thinking carefully. The temperature on the light side of the moon can be as high as 253 degrees Fahrenheit. How many degrees is that above the boiling point of water? So you have to know what the boiling point of water is, which you should because it's on your homework section. Boiling point of water, how far is that from 253 degrees Fahrenheit? Okay, so think that through carefully. You have to write the number. How many degrees is that above? Okay, then the second Brain Booster, the temperature on the dark side of the moon can be as low as 243 degrees below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. How many degrees is that below the freezing point of water? Okay, so you have to know what the freezing point of water is first, because we know that the freezing point of water is different. Fahrenheit and Celsius, don't get those confused. So figure out what the freezing point of water is first, then Fahrenheit, and then figure out how far below that 243 degrees is below. Okay, so think carefully, think carefully. I will maybe try to write it out underneath, either on the Google Classroom or something, so that you can see it. That might help you to kind of think it through again. But if you answer them correctly, you will get bonus points on your test tomorrow. All right, see you soon.